Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Gautam Chugani. I'm the director at Bernstein. I lead crypto and fintech. I have with me Sandeep Naliwal. Sandeep is the co-founder and CEO at Polygon, one of the largest scaling solutions on Ethereum. Before I get into more interesting questions, maybe Sandeep, why don't we, for people new to crypto, maybe start with a little introduction on Polygon, and then we can get to far more interesting questions.
Sure. So, hi everyone. I am Sandeep, one of the co-founders at Polygon, and so basically, Polygon is a multi-chain Ethereum scaling solution, which means that we are building a set of I don't want to call all of them as layer 2 chains, but set of on the top chains on top of Ethereum, which helps applications to run their smart contracts on these execution layers, and then so that they can have low gas fees and high scalability. So in a nutshell, it's a Ethereum scaling solution, but it's focused on multi-chain and multi-solution types, on top of Ethereum. Like, you guys would have heard about, Plasma, state channels, zero knowledge rollups, optimistic rollups. So Polygon is not one single type of solution. It's a suite of solutions or aggregator, which is expected to provide multiple such kinds of solutions on top of Ethereum to provide scalability and mass adoption.
So Sandeep, let me take you back to a few months back when Matic was rebranded to Polygon. So everyone kind of sees that as the pivotal moment or sort of the turning point for the project. So describe to us what was the sort of describe to us what led you to that, and then how did you think of conceptualizing that as a when you started rebranding it? I'm sure there were a lot of internal changes that you went about it. Why don't we go through that before?
Yeah. So primarily, it is like, definitely we changed the name and logo and branding, all that, but it was not a rebrand. Actually, it was a scope expansion from our side, and we wanted the brand to reflect it. So why I'm saying that is that previously, as I was just mentioning previously, we were also building one type of Ethereum scaling solution. So that was like Plasma, right? So we were building Plasma, and then after talking to a large number of developers, and as you would know, Polygon is the one of the largest. I mean, if in fact after Ethereum, it's the most adopted blockchain platform. So I would say that it's definitely the number 2 in the world after Ethereum. Even though it's a layer 2. So what was happening is that we were speaking to so many developers, and we realized that there is no one solution fits all. Enterprises want different kind of solution. Games want different kind of solution. DeFi wants different kind of scaling solution. So it was very clear for me and our team also that market does not market is not, or the developers are not focused on one particular solution. They want solutions that fits their particular approach. So that was the time when we realized that we need to move we need to do something if we want to build something which stays in the industry. And this industry is very ephemeral industry. Things come and go in a matter of years. 2 years back, some of the projects which were top 10 projects are nowhere to be seen, and we want to build something which stays there for next decades to come, right? So we realized that we can't be solution focused. Instead of that, or the technology type focus, we need to be focused on a larger suite of things which provides the best possible user experience and the developer experience to developers. If you see even AWS today, like Amazon Web Service, you don't go to Amazon Web Service and only, let's say, choose Linux solution or Windows server or Red Hat servers. You can choose any of the servers that you wanted to from there, right? So this is what was in our thoughts also, that we want to make it a solution where developer comes, and they can choose that, okay, my application is this, I want this kind of solution. Enterprises come and they say that I want this kind of solution. So it was very clear in our mind that we don't want to be solution specific or technology specific. We want to be an overall Ethereum scaling platform, or in a simple term to understand, an aggregator of Ethereum scaling solutions. And that's where I think, once we started our current solution, which offers two solutions like proof of stake commit chain and Plasma, that really exploded because we've been working under the hood for last 2 to 3 years in perfecting the solution, productionizing the solution, building the tooling, documentation, and then things went to a very different trajectory. And we hope that the upcoming solutions that we are bringing, we already have launched a data availability chain, which is the third solution. Then we have launched our Polygon SDK, with which enterprises can create their own chains, right? So for enormous scale. So, and we are going to add more such solutions, some of the very exciting ones, especially in the enterprise domain. Stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Awesome. And Sandeep, before we get into the different technological solutions around scaling and how you've chosen, where you want to kind of play in that whole scaling suite, one thing that stood out for Matic and then Polygon has been adoption. And, every time you and I have spoken, you've said we are very adoption focused. So give us a bit of that secret, right? Some people say you're great at support, and some people say your tech support is phenomenal. And then you've seen these mainstream DeFi applications moving to Polygon. Everyone has been super happy from their sort of, I would say, if they were think of them as clients, they've had great client experience working with you. So give us this thing about adoption, and including NFT and gaming as well, right? So what's that secret sauce?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest reasons for that is that we as co-founders, we are now 4 co-founders, and even though we have some expertise to go through these research and development kind of topics in the blockchain scalability space, but we all are engineers and we come from application backgrounds. Like, we have built applications, built businesses before, right? So I think that bent is one of the biggest strengths for us, because I see that a lot of projects who are working on these scaling solutions and who get funded, they are some sort of research PhDs or research kind of mindset. So they, yeah. I think they at times are not able to understand what the developer wants, right? So we are basically engineers who are collaborating with researchers, or we also have in our team now researchers, but then our bent is to basically as engineers to build these scalability solutions which should actually get used in the market. We are not interested again to build something which is really high flying in the research domain, but nobody uses it. So that's not what we are looking to build. We want to build simple to use, high and good user experience and developer experience products for the blockchain infrastructure. And also because we being layer 2, it helps us a bit on that front. So if we were also layer 1, then there could have been some other kind of constraints for us, but since we are building for the scale of Ethereum, it adds us added flexibility and benefits that we can go out and build those solutions. Yeah.
And when you kind of look at the range of solutions coming in the market, obviously Optimism, Arbitrum being the more prominent ones that we speak about, and obviously there are multiple others out there that are being experimented with. Do you see your approach changing over the next 6-12 months? Because clearly we're heading into that period where multiple protocols will experiment with multiple scaling solutions. We've already seen Uniswap do that with Optimism. Does that change anything for you in terms of your approach? You being sort of, whether you call it layer 2 chain or, obviously there's a lot of flexibility in your approach that you could work with multiple platforms. How would you change and sort of go about over the next 6 to 12 months as these things get rolled out, which could be, some would say, are competitors to you?
Yeah, so from our side, since I said that, as I was saying that we are basically building an aggregator. So we are actually, to be honest, we are not competing with any single competitor in the space, right? So, like for example, optimistic rollups and zero knowledge rollups, we are also doing our bit of work over there. We are trying to collaborate with optimistic rollup solutions, but we feel that the longer term future and like more sustainable future for layer 2 solutions is basically zero knowledge. We feel that the ultimate holy grail for Ethereum scaling is zero knowledge rollups and zero knowledge solutions. So, definitely in terms of our engineering efforts and resources that are being spent more are more on the zero knowledge side, right? Because the solution that works today, we already have it, right? So optimistic rollups, even though the technology is great and really great teams are working on it, but there are, sort of challenges in the optimistic rollups, which we see being running a commit chain solution already, which commits things to Ethereum. We know that that has a lot of issues, plus the withdrawal delays for the users to withdraw from the the layer 2 chain to Ethereum main chain and all that. Like many of these kind of things basically makes us feel that optimistic rollups will be there, but then eventually ZK rollups are going to win. So, and the zero knowledge technology is going to win. So we are very aggressively progressing on that direction, and we are going to, disclose more details on that. With optimistic rollup side, we are, we are looking to collaborate already, basically working with few teams, and hopefully we can offer some of the optimistic rollups also to the Polygon community. So that is how we are.
And when you look at ZK rollups, what changes from a customer experience standpoint? Why do you think it's a winner, right? When your customer is using, you spoke about withdrawal times. What else is out there which would change from a customer standpoint or a user standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, the very simple thing is that with zero knowledge proofs, actually, first is the withdrawal delays. Like, so withdrawal can be 10 minutes. So 10 minutes from zero knowledge to Ethereum, because it is backed by validity proofs, not fraud proofs. So that means in optimistic rollups, what happens is that if there is a fraud that is happening on the layer 2 chain, then the fraud can happen, but you can challenge it via fraud proofs. So due to that, you have to wait for 7 days. So there is a 7-day withdrawal period, because you need to give 7 days to the community that if something wrong has happened, they can come and challenge it. Whereas with zero knowledge proofs, because the power of zero knowledge technologies, that you can actually just prove the validity of a particular batch of transactions. So you just put that validity proof, and then everybody knows that till now everything is cool and people can withdraw from that. So that's why the withdrawal period is only 10 minutes for that. Secondly, since although it's a more technical kind of concept, but secondly, because you are using validity proofs, even though, so you can have off-chain data availability. That means you can put data of this rollup on somewhere else, right? And the people who are running the zero knowledge rollup chain can still not steal your funds. All they can do, they can still try to kind of censor your withdrawals and all that by withholding the data, but they can't take your funds. So the security also is very high in that sense. So these are some of the things, plus the scalability on the zero knowledge side, because zero knowledge, basically you are not keeping the data. The zero, that's a basic, in a very layman terms, you don't need to know entire data what happened. All you need to do is just prove that okay, this thing was computed correctly. So that also offers a lot of scalability benefits, which can be made on top of on top of a settlement layer like Ethereum. That's like basically is our thesis also, that Ethereum eventually with ETH 1.0 or 2.0 is becoming this going to be a settlement layer, and on top of these there will be different kind of solutions. So with zero knowledge proofs, you can even in future will be able to offer larger computation. Like right now you can only have small amount of computation, because smart contracts can only take X amount of inputs and results. But what we would be building with the zero knowledge proofs, like you can technically run large amount of computation but still be able to prove a very small thing back on the Ethereum main chain. So yeah, those are some of the benefits which clearly, like if you talk to any scalability researcher in the Ethereum space, they will tell you that eventually zero knowledge is the
So
end game.
clearly, you're not stopping here, right? From a proof of stake or any of these, you're going full suite. You will deliver the whole scaling solutions. And obviously, like we've known you for all these years, the Matic team is also always hustling.
I would say that we are like, there's no question of stopping. We are actually getting started.
Yeah.
Now only we have the leverage, and Gautam, our struggle, because we have done the bottom up struggle, right? So we didn't
Yes,
have
absolutely.
the fancy VCs and research and all those things to say. So so we have to go in terms of our adoption approach from down slowly to now we are at the pinnacle where all the blue chip solutions are building on Polygon, but it was not the same. So now is the time when we can really flex our muscle and go out big. And now the protocol is also valued very big. We have a big amount of treasury in the Polygon community, and we want that treasury to be spent on building more and more solutions, and helping more and more users to be brought onto the chain. So we are not,
Yeah.
I at times joke that we are not coming for small things, we are coming for everything. So
Yeah.
just wait what we do in the next 1 year.
No, absolutely. I'm one of your biggest champions. Let me go to something more contentious, and then I want to go to something far more exciting. With this whole thing that's happening on Polygon, on NFTs and gaming. But this whole thing about multi-sig still being operational within your project, and then obviously a lot of Ethereum community people calling it a side chain, calling it a competitor. How have you sort of dealt with it? Have you done anything to address any kind of questions around decentralization, security? Is that something to be addressed? Are there any sort of misnomers out there? Why don't you just take the next and give us some sense of that?
Yeah, so I mean, this is this narrative of like the chain having multi-sigs and side chain layer one and all that. All is like basically competitive, kind of, I would say, politics play by some other competitors and some people who do not, like that success, and who could not actually, invest or bet on us when we were like just growing up, right? So we are not that much worried about it, because we know that there's not much substance in that. About the multi-sigs being able to upgrade any layer 2 solution, whether it's like the fancy ones, the backed by VC one, like for example, Zero Knowledge and Matter Labs and Arbitrum and all that. All of them have the multi-sig updation systems. All of them, right? But it's just that they have like presented it well and all that. Like they got to learn that how people are trying to
But you've also been
kind of,
building in public, right? Whereas they've been building more privately, and hence the more
exactly.
focus or spotlight.
Yeah. So all those multi-sig kind of things and all that, those are systems built in to upgrade the system. And we are also proponents of progressive decentralization, right? So we absolutely, no matter how much pressure some of these people put on us, we have the biggest thing, and that is the end user, right? So we are not much worried about this. We are more focused on progressive decentralization and slowly go to the place where we know that, okay, network is fully functional now, everything is this, we can hand over the control and simply give things to the governance. And those are the things which are like, like for example, our governance model is being built. We are multiple times we build some things and we realize that no, that doesn't cater to this particular solution. We can also go out and try to build a narrative that yeah, we are doing it and all that. It's all about the narratives in the and sadly in the Ethereum community itself, instead of supporting each other, like there is an infighting within Ethereum community, but that's okay. That's the nature of the open community in Ethereum. So eventually we are going to be rolling out a proper governance model, which will hand over all the control to the, let's say, upgradation control and all that to the community. But if we do it right now, and there are like, imagine we did it 6 months ago, and then now there is $10 billion on this chain, and then there is some sort of bug. What do you do in that scenario? Like, we absolutely don't want to, just say that, hey, we decentralized it, no fault of ours, you guys brought your this thing again. Because we said that we are adoption focused. We don't want to just to absolve us of the responsibility, simply say that, oh, this is decentralized, now you take care of it. Like, we don't want to do that. We want to work for the users. And I see so many solutions, like just trying to decentralize fast so that they can absolve themselves of the regulatory kind of responsibilities, and kind of other kind of moral responsibilities and all that. Our team has consciously chosen to do that, okay, we want this platform to be long term adopted. So it's fine, for some time we'll have community people from multisig. And multisig is also not like it's only run by internal people. There are reputed people like Curve founder, and Quicksoft founder, and multiple other people from the community. But eventually this will move into governance when the time is right, when we are fully confident. People don't even know that in the back end, we have done 2 more audits on the system while it's out there in the wild, and those have also passed with flying colors and all that. And we'll slowly publicize about these audits and all that, and eventual full decentralization of the system. Yeah.
And then just one related question on the Matic token, right? Value accrual on that. That obviously has a staking yield attached to it, but also, it's you promote gasless transactions, or almost like very less gas transactions, so to say. How do you think, given that this whole Ethereum's layer 2, Ethereum 2.0 scaling is coming about, and with the Ethereum 1559 burn, how do you think this dynamic will change around, especially platforms like yours, which are kind of posting applications? How does it impact token economics long term?
I don't think that ETH 2.0 has any impact on these solutions, because the demand is so big. Like right now, like just do a simple calculation. Like Ethereum is like 13 transactions per second right now, right? And even if Ethereum 2.0 is available and goes live in its full glory with 64 shards, which is nowhere near the side people believe that it might take 2 to 3 5 years to come. Maybe it will not come, it might not come, because the direction might change. There are multiple, it's an open community effort, people are working in various directions. It can be only data availability chain. So even if all 64 shards are there, and then each of them with proof of stake also has some scaling capacity, they can still only reach like 1500 to 2000 transactions per second, right? That is, and then imagine the kind of requirement that we have. All these gaming studios, like big gaming studios are coming, which have multiple hundreds of millions of users. Right now on Ethereum, main chain, we are able to support like maybe 100k to 500k users, that too only for smaller number of transactions. Imagine if you are playing a game on ETH 2.0 where you do 10 transactions, 20 transactions in a matter of 1 hour game. So it's not possible at all. So eventually, that's why, like, our core thesis is, whether it's ETH 2.1 or 2.0 or 1.0, Ethereum is going to act as a settlement layer, and the business activity is going to be on the layer 2 or the scaling technologies or the other scaling layers, right? So that's what is our firm belief, and we can very easily see that. Like on Polygon chain itself, you can see that it has around 8 million transactions a day, right? And this is when the chain like starts hitting its kind of scalability limits. I'm pretty sure if this chain had more if this chain was capable of doing more and more transactions, let's say 100 million transactions, those transactions, the people will come and use it, because there is already a latent demand. So I don't believe that, or it's very clear in our minds that whether it's 1.0, 2.0, that has no bearing on this. In fact, it is going to benefit, because the layer 2 scalability will become much more cheaper. So then you can really flex your muscle, and like enterprises, which is the real super cycle, in my belief, that in next 12 to 18 months, or maybe 24 months, we are approaching that point where enterprises now realize that private blockchain is a misnomer. It doesn't work, and they now know that they eventually has to if they have to use anything related to blockchains sustainably and that adds some value to the business, it has to be on public blockchains. And we are having so many exciting conversations over there, and that's where I think the floodgates will open. And then scalability is not enough. Even with like all these scalability solutions on top of it, E 2.0 is not enough. We need more scalability, because we have billions and billions of computations.
Yeah. So we're not dreaming big enough. We need to dream bigger, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
So let's cut over to this whole amazing ecosystem of NFT and gaming that's playing out on Polygon. Yesterday, I saw the most popular game on Polygon, Zrun, getting funded by 16C. It clearly seems like that whole space is coming of age, right? It's also more relatable to normal people who don't want to understand the complexities of DeFi. Tell us about all this happening within Polygon.
Yeah, so I mean, people might not realize that Polygon has been like by far a leading player in the NFT and gaming space. Like if you, especially for the Web3 games, if you talk to 10 different games in the market, that which chain they are building, 6 or 7 are going to tell you that they are already on Polygon. Rest 3 are going to tell you that they are exploring Polygon, right? So it is that kind of famous and kind of popular amongst the game developers. And this has been our earlier long-standing focus for us. And with this Polygon Studios, which we recently announced, we kind of created a separate division, which is also a fund, will work on the providing the tooling and everything for the gaming developers, especially the Web2 developers, also to build on Polygon. Similarly, on the NFT side of thing, not many people are watching this, but then previously this brand and sports NFTs, you only used to see, let's say, Dapper Labs over there, right? Said that, okay, NBA Top Shots and some celebrities coming on there. But now if you see in the past, People's platform launched on Polygon, Tom Brady's platform launched on Polygon, and you will see so many celebrities. Dolce and Gabbana launched their NFTs on Polygon. You will see so many solutions coming in, because we know that internally, now I can very easily say that we are the number 1 player or very close number 2 player on the NFT side of things. Also gaming, Web3 gaming, we are already by far the number 1. And then Web2 gaming, which is like now some studios are coming in. That is the reason where we kind of like launched this Polygon Studios initiative also. And now we have a dedicated team which is doing that. So we believe that gaming is going to be, Web2 games coming into this in this space is going to be the next big thing, apart from the social tokens and all that. So yeah, we are all guns blazing on that.
And we just have a couple of minutes, maybe I'll squeeze this in. How close we are to seeing mainstream gaming studios building on blockchain?
Very close. Very close.
So this is probably the first mainstream application that we will see on the Web3 side. Yeah.
Yes, especially because of Axie Infinity, for example, proving their business model, Zrun proving their business model, and some of the other games doing good, and the metrics like really skyrocketing. Now they are intrigued that, okay, are we missing the next revolution, right? And then, like their research teams and all that, we talk to multiple research teams on daily basis on what they are doing. So yeah, it's coming soon.
Great. Sandeep, any last words from you for the community who are listening to you?
Yeah, I mean, I will only say that don't go by the narratives being run on the Twitter. Like, we don't believe in running those narratives. Instead, we only focus on building and bringing users. Like I always say that other solutions have like high flying research things and nice quotes on Twitter and all that. All we have is users, and we right. So that's it. So yeah, so we keep focusing on that, and we'll not disappoint you. That's my
focus on adoption.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Sandeep, congratulations for coming this far. I know you're just getting started, but thanks for doing this, and thanks everyone for listening. Good luck. Bye.
Thank you, Gautam, for having me here. Thank you, everyone.